Growing up in New York, I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Broadway shows, and now working backstage is the absolute best thing that I can imagine. My journey to Broadway was probably a little different than most people. I went to school as a fine arts painting major. I left college a year and a half in to pursue my dream to work in theater. I still paint. To me, when I am doing makeup, my inspirations come from art and just adapting them into a different canvas. I was working for a theater company out in Long Island for about 4 years, and I was pretty much a slave for them. Whatever they needed, I was really there to do. So that was kind of my college experience. And after that, I started working for MAC Cosmetics for the next 4.5 years. And one day I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He was hired to do the hair and makeup for a Vanity Fair photo shoot for the show End of the Rainbow. And it was the show that changed my entire life, because I came in, I did the makeup for Tracy Bennett to transform this blue-eyed, blonde-haired British woman into Judy Garland. And from there, I have worked on approximately 12 other shows. I was doing 10 shows a week, and as grueling as it was, I was able to meet so many people in the business. My mentor on Broadway, John Jordan, helped me get my contacts on Broadway. He is currently the hair supervisor on The Lion King. One of the biggest things that I learned was not to be crazy, to go in, do my job, show up, not cause drama.
But I really don't want to die. I really don't.
For A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, I worked with Linda Cho, who is the Tony Award winner for the costumes for the show. And she had this very high fashion, stylized version of what 1909 really looked like. When I'm building a character for a show, I'm going off of the script, the director's notes, and mainly I go off of the hair and costume designer, because they are the ones that I'm kind of creating a vision for. As a makeup designer, I'm there to figure out what they're really looking for, because they understand the clothing, but I'm there to figure out exactly what their faces should look like.
Adalbert?
We had one character played by Jefferson Mays originally.
Slap!
He played 8 characters throughout the show, and his changes happened between 5 minutes and they came down to about 17 seconds.
Remembering the climax of the play,
My biggest challenge for the Dicewith role was trying to keep his lip from not being torn apart or bleeding, because every scene would be a change and he would have to reapply makeup and then take it off and reapply makeup, or it's the removal of glue from a mustache.
Shot herself in the temple. Shot herself.
Because the role is so demanding, anyone who is in that track always seems to be a huge sweater. There are different layers of makeup and powder that we've used that help keeping sweat completely off their face. The Dicewith family role changes 8 different times, 8 different characters. It's 17 different times that he's changing into those roles. And it can be as easy as a mustache being applied, or there's blush and lip gloss that's added for certain characters. There are tiny elements that are added or taken away for each of those characters that we've designed for, though he has a very basic plot that he goes off of. There's a part in the show where Jefferson would stick out his tongue. He had this idea. He now has his dresser go out and buy him beet juice, and the beet juice dyes his tongue. It really helped him find that character as well. One of the times that I see a character really come to life is with Miss Barley. We change her lips. They are glittered. It's the only thing that is shiny in the entire show. Now that the show is running on tour, when she comes off stage, we take a piece of duct tape and she pretty much kisses the duct tape. It removes a lot of the glitter. It was really the easiest and quickest way to do it. For a show like Gentleman's Guide, there is no makeup artist that is on staff each night. So I went in and teach every single person their makeup plot, and even if they're an understudy or a swing, they all get face charts that will help them go through the looks when they can't really have me there to help them. It really plots out exactly where the makeup belongs. These are the original face charts from the Broadway production that each cast member gets a copy of, and that's what they execute these designs with each night. A lot of times they hang them right on their mirror, so it gives them a good reference to go off of. The makeup and hair supervisor that's on the show does keep in check with making sure that everyone is fully stocked with makeup. I do pop in probably every other week or so. I just take a quick look at the show, make sure that everyone looks good. If there's ever a problem or something's going on, I may contact the actor and give them a tip or a trick to help them get back to where we want them to be. Adapting to an actor, no matter what they have a requirement about, is definitely my goal. I want to make sure that they are taken care of, and knowing if they're allergic to latex, so making sure that lashes can be applied and they're not going to have an issue is always a very big question that I always ask when I'm meeting with an actor to find out what they're about. Catherine currently plays Phoebe Dysquith in A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. When doing Catherine's makeup, I'm all about the contours and creating the smoky eye that gives her definition and helps her performance. I really love blending these colors and making sure that the eyeshadows look really smooth, because you have actors that are an inch away from her that we want them to be in the moment, but then we also need to make sure that they're in the last row, they can see it exactly the same way. When I'm doing this, it's really just beautiful.
It was a learning curve, though, I will say that. Mostly, I think the eyes are the trickiest thing. I think I get nervous when precision is involved, but I definitely feel more comfortable now than when we started, for sure. When I first started the show, I was in the ensemble and I played the role of Miss Barley, but I was also understudying both Phoebe and Sabella, so I had to learn all of those makeup tracks. It was definitely a challenge, but really fun to get to play with all of those different looks. Miss Barley with the glitter and just apple red cheeks, and that was just an extreme, really fun look. The final touches when you're preparing to be a new character, when you get into makeup, hair, and costume, everything comes together. Just having all of those elements working so beautifully together is a real treat.
That's the whole look. I've done this on you since
It's the eye detail that I haven't nailed.
Most shows, they don't really give you a budget, but they don't tell you yes or no about it either. Something like Gentleman's Guide, I was there to execute the look, and whatever that look cost is what we went for. I think that just having so many different people around me in the business and going through costume designers' sketchbooks and seeing all different ideas of what people have are really the inspiration that derives my looks that I do for shows. The best advice that I can give an aspiring makeup artist is to get yourself out there and to never say no to any project. I think I've done more free events in my entire career, and now that I am getting paid for them, there's a reason behind it. I pounded that pavement and I made sure that I put my time in to get where I am now.
I'm the production makeup supervisor for the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway and all the other companies in the US. And look, this is the wax that I will be using on the Phantom tonight. I usually dig my finger in here, take this out, and I blank out his eyebrow. We officially opened to the public 1988. So that's 28 years already passed. We're now in our 29th year. I was doing a show in another theater with a woman, and she said to me, "Oh, I know somebody who wants to work with you." So she said, "Oh, come and go over to the theater and meet my friend." I didn't have a clue who the person was, so I went over to the theater with her. And the guy, Wayne Herndon, said, "I like your work, and I'm doing this show. It's Phantom of the Opera, and I want you to come and work with me. You have 2 weeks to make your decision." And because I was just finishing audio engineering, I had student loans. I said, "Oh, I'll take the job." So now where is Vinny? Oh, here he is. So Vinny, I'd like to see what ball caps you have today. And these are my Phantom caps?
Yep.
Okay. I like to check them to make sure that they're not too thin, for one.
Okay.
And that they're big enough and pliable enough because I can put it on his hand.
And rip when you put them on.
Yeah, sometimes, if they don't have enough elasticity, they will break. They will rip when I put them on. See, so I test it like this, and it's perfect. Most makeup artists on Broadway don't stay with the shows. They set up the shows, and then they go off and do other things. But Phantom of the Opera happened to be one of the most fabulous shows that employ makeup artists. All over the world, you have to have a makeup artist there because it involves prosthetics, ball cap, and special paintings. And the actor cannot do that by him or herself. Okay, so I'm taking this, and I'm taking these. I use many different products. Back then, we used a lot more pancake, which was water-based. And now we use everything. Airbrush. Some makeups already come with everything in it, which means that you don't have to put a primer on first. It might already have it in. Then we have things like anti-shine. We didn't have such a product back then when I started, that I know of. Makeup artists need to be able to understand the skin, understand the coloration. You have to be able to cancel the colors that you don't want and put the new colors over it. You have to have a library at your house as well, because if you get called in the middle of the night to do something, you have to know how to. And if you don't know how to, you pull the books out and you read them. Because the word is cosmetology, and it's a science of the skin, the hair, and the nails. My first job in makeup was I was working in a salon, and it was a salon where a lot of celebrities would come to get their hair done. And one day, another hairstylist, Stanley James, said, "Do you want to come to work with me today?" And I said, "I can." And he said, "Yes, grab your bag." And I grabbed my bag, and I looked back, and I've been working ever since. When I mentor young people, which I do very often, I make sure that I give them the basics. I teach them what they need to know for this business, even as much as how you enter the door. The doorman, you see him there. You don't just walk by, you have to speak to him. And when you get down to your room, you make sure you say, "Hello, everyone. How are you today?" Be always very pleasant. My first advice to them, go to school, study. They have a lot of information on YouTube today. But I still think the classroom is very important, because when you get out here, you still have to deal with personalities and people, and not everybody is smiley, happy-go-lucky. And you have to be prepared spiritually and mentally so that when the time comes and you meet upon a rough patch, you have to be able to handle the situation without being panicked. Okay. This helps to speed up the process of the makeup. If I prep all of this before he sits in the chair, then by the time I'm ready to use it, it's tacky enough. The makeup could be designed by either the costume designer, could say this is what I want with this character, or it could be that the director said he sees it a different way, and then it's for you then to be able to give them the colors that they want. So if you're working, let's say for example in one of our auctioneers, they said we want the auctioneer to look kind of like gaudy or like dark eyes. You have to be able to give them the dark eyes and the dark cheek and the sunken bones, things like that. You come back in and you sit down and you apply it on the actor's face, and then you have the actor then clean it off and then redo it so that the actor can do it by himself eventually. We go through the makeup process for a couple times before they actually have to go on stage. And then they can practice their makeup when they're off stage. So when they go on, they feel more comfortable in their role. And then that might be all the person sees of you until you come back again to replenish the makeup room. To transform the actor into the Phantom of the Opera for the night, I apply a ball cap and 3 pieces of prosthetics. We make sure that the skin is clean and is conditioned because we use glues, so that when we remove it, the person has to come in the next day and we do the same thing over and over and over. So you want to make sure that you have good cleansers for the skin, things like that. Okay, thanks, Leon. Chris Tucker did the sculpting, he did the casting, and he sends me the pieces, and they're blank. And then I have the interpretation of different colors for how Prince wants him to look like on the stage. There have been 15 phantoms, but there are many understudies and all the actors as well. So there's a lot of people. We've had black phantoms and we've had black Carlottas and different people, different skin. We've had a lot of Asians in the company, some Spanish, things like that. And you have to be able to basically understand the color in this person's skin.